Hello everyone, my name is Julia. I am a certified Montessori teacher, as well as a mom of a 20-month-old named Isaac and a stepmom to an 8-year-old named Asher. Today's video is a part 2 of dollar store Montessori hacks, and I've also combined it with craft store Montessori hacks, which I had promised way back in part 1 that you guys would get, but I thought it best to actually combine it with more dollar store stuff, just simply because a lot of the things that you can find in a craft store, you can also find pretty much the exact same thing in a dollar store for the same, if not cheaper. If you are new here and you would love to start implementing Montessori philosophies and practices at home, and you don't have as deep as pockets as Elon Musk, then this is the channel for you. So the things that I'm going to show you today cover a range of different areas at home, from shelf activities to practical life to an older child's more academic work. I hope you find something useful in here. Okay, so I went to the craft store, which the biggest one that we have here is Michael's. I'm not sure where else in the world Michael's is except North America. The first things that I went to the craft store to get were things for practical life dressing frames. My first example is on here. This is a super simple buckle frame that I made for Isaac. This buckle came from the craft store, as well as you can find zippers, things like magnetic snaps, etc., all down that aisle. And a variety, I also got a variety of buttons, which don't have to be used for dressing frames as well. They can also be used for things like color recognition, size sorting, etc., etc. So you can use buttons to do big, medium, small, or size sorting from biggest to smallest. That is more of a preschool aged activity to do. I know they carry these in the dollar stores as well. This one's from the dollar store, ha ha ha. The next item I targeted at the craft store were multicolored beads. As you can see here, I'm using pipe cleaners and simple plastic beads to make the Montessori math beads, which are the most commonly used Montessori material when it comes to practicing math. And that, of course, can be from preschool aged all the way up to elementary. So if you want a really simple, easy way to make the Montessori beads at home, this is a really good option. And in both the craft stores and dollar stores, there are all sorts of little boxes, little containers to store things in. This one is nice. It has 4 components. These are from the craft store and have been really great. Currently, I'm using one on the shelf to hold the lacing beads from Isaac's latest Panda Crate box. And on the subject of containers and things that you can kind of find on the kitchen aisles or on the storage aisles in the dollar store or in a craft store, things like glass containers. These are spice containers that I'm just using for smelling bottles right now from the dollar store. I have glass containers which I use in the dining room to store spoons and forks for Isaac. By all means, you can find any size container, glass, wooden, plastic, that you could possibly need from a dollar store and the craft store. One thing that I particularly love about the dollar stores are all of the trays that you can use to put on your shelf. So here I just have a plain white one. This is more of an anti-slip one, which will be really good for pouring and transferring activities. You can also get creative and use things that might not be listed as platters or trays for trays. So this is an artist's panel from the dollar store, and I'm using one currently on the shelf as a tray for color sorting activity. You can also build yourself really simply from the Imbucare series. So I took, again, one of these artist palettes from the dollar store, and I found a frame which has that slot in the middle for the glass to go in. But instead of glass, I just put in a piece of cardboard with a cutout, and using these wooden coins to use for the Imbucare. I'm not quite finished this yet. Essentially, it's just going to be glued in the middle here, and that'll provide a really nice tray for this whole series. I also like this because I can then take this cardboard piece out and put in a new cardboard piece with different shapes for different holes as per the progressions. So for the very first one, it is just a simple coin in the craft section of the dollar store. There are lots of similar things to what you would find in the craft section of a craft store. Things like multicolored popsicle sticks, multicolored wooden cubes, all really good activities for things like color sorting.
And as you can see here, I just bought one packet of a couple of different types of dowels and popsicle sticks and some of those wooden people and other cool pieces. Just one packet that I keep in here, and yes, it looks super messy, but I literally just use them and reuse them. I have some wipes lids there too that I collect that I just use as needed, and I just recycle and reuse them, and it works really great. And you know, you can be creative, find some magnets and some colored labels and put them together for some sort of magnetic coloring activity. Here you can see Isaac is helping make his own puzzle piece. I found these really cool wooden puzzle pieces at Michael's, and he's decorating them, and we're just doing one piece at a time and seeing how it works. Yeah, he's decorating them from some letter stickers that I had used for a different activity and that were just leftovers.
Another alternative, however, for not using paint to color things that you can then peel off and reuse is you can just get yourself some colored tapes. This is from the dollar store. It's just electrical tape, and that works really well. So currently the activity I have here for him are these little pots are from the craft store, but all the rest of the materials are just from the dollar store, and he needs to match the pot onto the correct circle and then color sort the popsicle sticks. On the subject of color sorting and matching, things like pom-poms are really good. If you have a child who is out of the stage of putting things in their mouth, I have just begun to do that with Isaac. As you can see here, he is doing a pom-pom transferring activity with just a little toilet paper roll tree that I made. And other things for color sorting include things like felt, which you can lay out and have matching up activities for. You can also use these later on for things like fraction insets or shape sorting, that kind of thing. One thing in the craft store that I really enjoy having the multitude of are all of the stickers, so the letter stickers and all of the different cardstock pieces of paper. So these are really good for your older child or for your older preschool child who is learning how to letter sort and read. So you can get small little cardstock pieces of paper, which then can be used for your noun cards, for your adjective cards, which you can then just use a sticky label and put them on, and you have a word card that can be used for all sorts of sorts. I also have a bunch of bigger pieces of paper, also of cardstock, which have been really good for my DIY grammar materials, which if you've seen my video on Introduction to Grammar, it's in there. And just random bits and pieces that need colored paper. It's really good quality, it's nice and thick, and there's a lot of it for the price that you're getting. One thing from the kitchen aisle that I have made is I purchased just colored party paper plates, and You can find any color really. I've seen all the colors, but specifically for fractions. So I handmade my own fraction insets. So for these halves, I actually glued them onto cardboard to make them a bit thicker. But then I found they are quite thick themselves. So for the other ones, you can make an entire fraction set at home just by using paper plates. If you take an egg carton, and of course now Easter, there's all these eggs. So you can find ones that open up, and it can be as simple as putting a couple of these at first for your child just on their own to practice opening up, put a little treasure inside of them, something enticing for them to want to open it up. You can also then move on to color sorting and color matching. And then of course later on you can use these for math activities as well. You can put a certain number of something inside of these and they have to be counted. You can use these for adding or subtracting as well. And a practical life activity that toddlers and preschoolers really love is arranging things. So I've talked a lot about arranging colors, but if you purchase flowers from the dollar store or the craft store and a little pad, you can do a flower arranging activity on there quite simply. And another practical life activity that preschoolers especially love is anything to do with hammering. So if you go to the dollar store and you go to the sports section, you'll see these little golf tees. So you can purchase a bag of those, and those are really good for hammering activities. You can even use one of the flower bases here.
And the dollar store can provide lots of materials for practical life, like mats for sitting on, hangers for hanging child-sized clothing from, towels, and various dishes or eating utensils. I don't actually buy kitchen utensils from the dollar store. I find their quality is not worth the price.
Think outside the box a little bit. If we're thinking about transferring activities and levels of progressions, you can make a set of tongs with a clothes peg and a couple of popsicle sticks. I literally just liquid glued these on and they work super well. Isaac is not quite ready for them yet. I did try with him, but he doesn't have the finger dexterity strength for it yet. Again, it's all about minimal amounts of purchasing for maximum amounts of use and reuse. And I involve Asher in the making of some of these. He has shown interest in watching me quite a few times. And so he'll just come by and he'll help me, cut out, and he'll help me, do the measurements and stuff for it, which is great because inherently that's practicing measuring and more fine motor skills and counting. So that's math and geometry right there. I'm going to share something that I personally have steered clear from purchasing at Michael's, and that is any of the animals or small object selections. As you see here, they can be super pricey, upwards of $12 for a little piece of something, or $15 for an entire set of animals. That for me is just too pricey, as well as also the animals that tend to be in the sets are not proportionally sized. So if you are trying to stick as closely to the Montessori method as you can, you will want to find animals that are proportionate in size, which I did mention in my first video. Yeah, and on the subject of the plastic animals though, I was alerted in the previous video about the possibility of there being lead in some of the plastic animals from the dollar store. So I did look into that more, and it's any plastic animals that are from 2008 or older at this point. They might have the possibility of lead in there. So if you do have a child who is still putting things in their mouth, perhaps be a little bit more selective with the 3D animals that you choose to provide for them. Isaac at this point is not putting any of those things in his mouth, so I'm not worried about that. That was a whole bunch more things that I wanted to share with you about things that you can find in the craft and dollar stores that are either open-ended or can provide really good progressions for setting up Montessori at home, on your shelf, or practical life. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay sane, and I'll catch you next time.